All right, guys, trying to get a bunch of the pictures in. We should be pretty good to go here. We got a lot of stuff to cover, but let's get that green room rocking and rolling. If you guys haven't been on the show before, ! Discord, that'll get you into our Discord, and there is a chat room, voice room called the Green Room. You can jump in there. It'll tell me that you want to come on the show, just like it says there on the side of your screen right now. We'll be jumping in just a moment here. We're going to go over some of the stuff on the stream. And I'm going to pull you guys in during the whole show. I'm by myself tonight, so it's all about community and going over some of the details. And we'll go as long as we need to. So if we're going to go longer, we'll go longer. If it's not going to be as long, we won't be as long, because I know that ran a little bit longer. But it's all about community, so definitely get in there, jump in the green room. Love to have you guys in and talk about what we're about to see. And we'll be started up here in just 1 minute. And it's time to begin.
Oh, we're live? We're streaming right now? Cool. Awesome, man. Let me just
What is going on, everybody? Minus here from Pantheon Plus. Same thing every week. It's what I say. Here's what we're doing tonight. We are jumping quickly into talking about this developer stream. There was quite a bit going on. I have a lot of pictures clipped that we're going to go through. I didn't clip everything, just kind of get an example of some of the spells. We're going to talk through a lot of the details. I want to highlight a few things that came out that I was actually really excited about that might have been slightly overlooked, or you guys might be really quick and have figured it out. But the big thing here is, if you haven't seen our show before, this show is 100% based on the community, you being able to come on here and honestly say whatever you want. We ask you to be family friendly just for the sake of being able to have a good conversation. But other than that, you can actually tell us what you thought of the stream, what stood out for you, what you think of the class, what you thought of the recent streams, recent news, what you want to see moving forward. And the bar that you see on the right and left, on the right side of the screen there, will be your opportunity to kind of adjust your feeling of the stream. Was it what you were hoping for? Were you let down by the stream? Did you get more than you expected? And we'll kind of go through that, and everybody will have a chance to move that, including everybody in the chat. We'll actually give you the opportunity to do it too, in case you don't want to come on voice. So there is a ton to talk about here. So let's get into it, so that I am not sitting here forever talking, and we bring you guys in, and I may break from going through certain things and bring people in. So we do see that I have Idiotech, you were in there first. We'll be bringing you in. We have Drac Attack, and we have Vandrad right now in the green room. So we have a lot of open space if you want to come in the green room and chat. If not, we do have our moderators in the Steam stream chat for Twitch. We have Theric you can direct questions to. We have Omega Contagion that you can direct questions to. And I wouldn't be surprised if Orsic is in there somewhere. So I haven't seen him yet, but he's probably there. So if you guys have any questions, you can ping them, and they will try to ping me. And if you get a bunch of questions that you want us to try to answer or talk to, but Theric, for people who don't want to jump in the green room, I'll pull you in if you do gather any. So just let me know if you want me to pull you in, or jump into the green room if you want to come in and ask any questions, or if you just want to do it yourself. So we are starting to get a few more people. Wargoat, welcome in. Hoye, I see you in there. So we will get to you guys. So we just saw a lot about the Shaman. So at the end there, Ronik kind of talked about that these streams are going to be very different. It's not going to be the same thing all the time. And I think that that helps a lot for a lot of reasons. One, we don't always have to expect the same thing. We're not going to see gray box all the time. We're not going to see a zone. It's kind of going to be exciting that about a day or so before the stream, we're going to get some kind of news on what we're going to see. I will tell you that if this same exact format followed for the Rogue, a class that I'm really excited about, then I would be extraordinarily excited about that. So think about how, if you're not a Shaman player and you're like, I didn't want to hear about the Shaman, think about how the flow of this went and what that means for your class when they get there, which is kind of interesting, because we had some people in the Pantheon Plus Discord talking about that. Bronson, who's one of our awesome members, he said, he really hopes they don't see this for every class, because you kind of want some classes to be a surprise. The problem comes is that it's like, well, everybody's class got seen except mine. So that's going to be a constant debate. So that seems to be pretty hard. I will try to give shout outs as much as I can to the chat. You guys are lighting it up pretty good right now. So let's jump into some of the things. I want to show this. My name is Minus. I like math. I am into the math of MMORPGs. I saw a lot of people saying meta this, meta that. Guys, these games are based on numbers. There is nothing any MMORPG will ever do to get away from somebody using math to tell you what's best. The difference is how far is the best to the next thing and how hard is the best to the next thing. Because if the best thing here is really hard to implement and requires standing still and avoiding mechanics is hard, so then this is actually going to fall into number 2. So it's really about when something's the best, which there will always be. If you can make math and then not have a best, you show me how that's done. That's impossible. There will always be a best. There will always be a 2. There will always be a 3. But hopefully what Pantheon does is narrows the gap between them and creates challenges that, maybe it's harder in certain scenarios to use this number 1 and number 2 is a little better. So don't get yourself stuck up on this meta stuff because it's going to happen and you can choose to do it or you can choose to play your own way. And there's player types that are successful doing that. So the first thing I wanted to show is the numbers. When this came up, like a little part of me, and I think I peed myself like out of enjoyment, just a tiny bit. I love this. There are a lot of people that probably saw this and were like, meh. And if you didn't know, they scrolled one of those. I love the fact that the more categories there are for numbers, for implementation, for how something works against something, it really creates a way for you to specialize. The more there is, sometimes maybe there will be a better way to specialize. But if you really want to do something, having all these numbers allows it to be possible. And I'm such a nerd, as if you guys didn't know already, but I absolutely love the number side of it. So, all the resists, how important resists are going to be, how important buffs are going to be, how important weapon skills are going to be, the different types of spells. I really, really enjoy that. There you go. Schlocky says pickpocket on the second column to the right, about halfway down. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I saw that. Don't worry. I was peeking through some of this and it might have pushed me off of getting a lot. So really excited for the numbers. If anyone wants me to pull this back up when you come on the air live, and by the way, we got a couple more people in there. We are going to get to you tonight, so please hang on for us. Let's go in through some of these as well. So I'm going to go through my notes. I'm going to show different pictures. We've seen this a bunch. We saw this before, but once again, it was working. This is your Shaman bar up there. Remember that each class has their own bar and has some kind of implementation. And as you do the Shaman bar, you're actually going to have that eye open. And that's going to be your speed of casting because of your frequency of casting. You get that haste as you continue to cast. And they did say that in the stream, it was not degrading, which it will, but that's a nice little part, something we've seen before, but pretty neat. I'm just going to flash these up quick. You got your spell book. It has reduced itself quite a bit. So they did talk about getting rid of downranking. And this is a really important point that I'm actually interested to hear what you guys have to say about that. There are a lot of schools of thought on downranking. There's people who really like it to conserve mana, but then there's a lot of people that say, well, then you have to get into efficiency. And if a higher level spell's not as efficient as a lower one, you might use a lower one anyway. It kind of takes that off the table. And I think I'm okay with that, even though I like numbers and I like trying to figure those things out. I think it's kind of important to maybe get rid of all that, especially with, and Cerulean just said it, with LAS, it's going to help quite a bit. And it's going to clean up your book. I am not a fan of spell bloat. So I actually think this is a really big deal, and I'm curious to hear what you guys have to say about that. So please let me know when we pull you in here. And like I said, we are going to get to the green room. I'm by myself tonight, so we should be able to do that very easily. Now, one of the biggest things about this stream was the keyword of synergy. And I think that that's really important. That's something we're going to talk about a lot as we continue to go through. So let's go ahead. Here's a small part of the second part of the book. There wasn't many more spells. That was all the spells that they had shown there. Now, keep in mind, you're probably going to see more. And then we got into, breaking into the actual spells. So Mantle of the Deep is interesting. This is interesting a lot because I talk a lot about my preferred way to heal. And my preferred way to heal, I'm super generic in my healing and I'm super generic in my tanking. I like to be a meat shield and I like to have direct, strong healing. And that's why I stick a lot of times with a cleric or I stick with a warrior. That's the standard, right? It's not fancy, but it gets the job done through sort of the basics of healing or the basics of tanking. It was interesting because one of the keywords said with Mantle of the Deep, this is your main healing spell, right? This is your bread and butter. It's quick hot. So you kind of get it rolling on the group. It feels a little bit like WoW Druid. Again, I'm not trying to compare to WoW, but that's what it reminded me of. Third dots on a bunch of stuff and kind of get it going. But what's interesting is they really dug into the specialization, which is we're going to talk a lot about upgrading these spells. We've seen it in the past, but we got a lot more detail here. So when you jump into the second one, your healing component on the initial goes up. And then now we're getting a proc to surging. So now it's going to implement an instant cast on another spell. And what's interesting is that they're actually going to have the ability to take this hut, which really works in splashing out the group, leveling the group out, kind of keeping people meh, and then take this spell and this specializing in this way, if you're mostly a single target healer, is going to help you tremendously. And that's really where the gears start to turn. What does it mean to master these spells? What does it mean? It means changing your role. And for a solo player, you're going to maybe change it around a bit and kind of be more everything so you can fill whatever role you can. But if you're in a guild and you know what you want to do, well, the big thing here is you're going to be able to specialize with that other shaman friend of yours. Hey, let me do this, you do that. Now you guys both have a role, especially in raiding. You can synergize how you build yourself. It's these types of things are going to be very big for guild play. And you guys know how much I talk about guild play. Guilds are everything in MMORPGs. I'm going to save that for another day. But this is going to help with making you different. And I actually saw in chat people like, oh, well, with this mastery system, every shaman's going to be the same. Well, without it, they would all be the same. With the mastery system, you're going to have to make choices. And you might want to make choices that are important to you. And some of the important things that I do, let me jump into this. I took some notes on this. Let's talk about the mastery system. So the biggest thing in the mastery system here is that it's a constant companion to you. I love it, right? You have a bar that's leveling up, right? You have this bar that's going to just continually level, and it's going to be under your experience bar. And when you max it, you get a mastery point. You also get mastery points when you level. So you're going to constantly be focused on where you want to be, which is really neat. I really enjoy that greatly. And obviously it's going to cost more to get them into the the first, second, and third tier of these spells. So are you going to be someone who hoards all your mastery points because there's certain spells you need to get to tier 3 ASAP? Or are you going to be someone who wants to gradually grow? There's going to be a lot of choice. Now, we don't know what the mastery reset's going to look like. In the past, they have said that there will be a mastery reset. So you might be able to do that, but it might cost you something. So, you can change yourself around, but you're going to lose something for that. Probably money, something of the like. So it's interesting too. Let's go back through this. So let's go ahead and drop this. Let's just get through the pictures. And like I said, if you come on and you want me to pull up the pictures, we will do it again. But let's look a little bit more into the mastery. We had the poison resistance right here. Poison's resistance is increased and reduced. So there's kind of like the double thing there. When you jump it up again, it's going to reduce the mana cost. So your efficiency goes up. And then the third one here, resistance for the group, right? So that's really cool. It's your buffs become stronger. A lot of them will last longer. You'll go from having to single cast to just group casting. There's a lot of benefit to that. And the last one here to kind of show you the evolution of was Molten. So same thing, just with fire resistance, right? There you go. And then you have Windswept. And that was really talked about more synergy. The key word of Shaman, this is the synergy here. Super quick on the picks. Yeah, well, if you want to see more, I'll fire them up again when you guys come on and want to talk about it. I want to leave a lot of time for the green room. We have a good group in there. We'll get everybody in. So the Molten stuff here, spending to get this Windswept advantage is pretty important. Now let's talk about the Windswept advantage. And again, I'm going to get you guys in here very shortly. I have so many notes. This is the craziest thing when they do these streams. Let's see. So Windswept, headwinds. So a strong gust of wind that causes windswept state. So they talked about the state of being. This is interesting because there is a lot of time and things you can do with this state of being concept. The state of being concept means that this enemy is windswept. It's not a dot. It's a state of being. And things are going to synergize. Other classes, they're going to synergize in a way, shape, or form that you can now do different things. They brought up a summoner, for example. If you're partnered up with a summoner, now that summoner may be able to stun in an ability that they weren't able to do before. They can't put Windswept on, or maybe it's harder for them to do, but you can. So now that shaman can stun. So now there's an actual reason to learn the other classes. If you're somebody who sits and plays one class, this is my class, this is all I want to do, there is more reason to explore the other classes. There's more reasons to know what your friends can do, to sit down on the side when you guys are waiting for a raid. Hey, do any of these abilities help you, or any of these states, and you start to build this camaraderie with a group member that may help you tremendously. We know how that's already existed with Summoner and an Enchanter, for example, with their epic ability Pet that's not controllable. Well, an Enchanter can charm it, right? So there's already been synergy if you just read through the spell lists, but now we're talking about the state of being and being able to amplify, increase, change how abilities work. And it's pretty neat, especially if you kind of lay out as a raid leader, for example. Think about as a raid leader sitting there and kind of planning out the synergy between what you have. It's pretty interesting. For those that like numbers, that like strategy, stuff like that, it's pretty neat. And then, of course, we kind of showed that. And then the last thing here was the headwinds, which we kind of just talked about there. The Windswept Bane. So pretty interesting stuff there. I'm going to quickly go through a couple other abilities I'm not going to put pictures up for, but Fireclaw, it's a very powerful buff for the melee. And when it's fully upgraded, you actually get procs. I don't know about you guys. The procs, I love procs. We love procs on our weapons, enchantments that do procs, clicky procs. So hearing that if you take this ability and you update it, you can add procs to the melee. Sign me up. That's awesome. That's Fireclaw. Wait, Chrono Burn. I was really shocked by Chrono Burn. So Chrono Burn, you're reducing the cooldown and you're getting mana back for life. And as a shaman who can put a hot on themselves or maybe stays out of trouble, they can just pump their mana through and they're already gaining more mana, which we'll talk about in a minute because of their ability to just regain, which is pretty neat. And then you could see when you looked at their bar, that mana regen was pretty quick. And that wasn't with an Enchanter putting clarity or something like that on them. So pretty neat. That's actually a really big deal, in my opinion, for a healer. And then they had Cinder Smog. If you've played a shaman in EQ, it had to be, right? You have to have that slow melee damage. That is a massively important spell. I'm happy it's here. It will be a staple, in my opinion, of being a shaman and what they will bring. And in this one, you get reduced cast time, you get increased duration, and then you also get Windswept. So again, tying in that Windswept ability is pretty cool. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to take a break from going over some more of the notes and questions, and I'm going to start bringing you in live on the show. Before we do, where am I going to be? Well, listen, a lot of the talk of the community, we'll say, the negative side was, we've seen Shaman. I'm going to see everything I already saw. I can't believe they're doing this again. A lot of that was said. There was so much given tonight that we've never had before. Don't ignore that. Don't be someone who said, I've seen this all and they just did it again. You sound like an idiot. There's a ton of stuff that was shown tonight. So for me, I was expecting it to be about here. We're going to see some new stuff. We're going to go in depth, maybe see some spell animation, just kind of talk about how they work, but more in depth on just one class. And this probably be about right here. I didn't expect this. I will say that I got more than I expected because I think I tempered my expectations a bit. So I'm going to say that this stream with some of the other details is probably right about there. I wouldn't say it's like the best stream they've done. It's tough. They've done some really good streams, but I'd say it's probably just under like that. They delivered pretty well. Maybe a little bit lower than that. And you guys can convince me maybe to change that, but that's about where I'll be. So when you guys come on the show, you'll be able to adjust where you want that meter to be. And chat will give you the opportunity to say where you guys want it to be. And again, if you have questions, ping Omega Contagion, ping Theric, and we'll get one of them in to read some of your questions or if we can answer them. So let's go ahead and jump into the green room. If you're not in the green room, get in there. We'll pull you in. And first was Idiotech. So Idiotech, you're going to be first on the show tonight. Let me pull you in. What's up, Idiotech? How are you?
Ooh. One sec.
Uh-oh.
Gotta mute the stream.
Yeah, it's okay. I got you.
What is going on, man? How you been?
Ooh, man, this one kept me busy. I was typing, I was screen capping, I was putting it into OBS. I'm trying to listen. These guys put me to work, and Joppa was moving quicker than I'm moving right now. So it's pretty intense.
So it's funny, like I was playing with a buddy, I was playing Divinity Original Sin 2, and I missed like the first 10 minutes of the stream, and I was like, like 10 minutes, I won't miss that much. Apparently I did.
Yeah, it's quite a bit.
I missed a lot. But no, this is a lot of fun. I'm freaking really happy I was able to see this one.
What stood out to you on this stream?
So I'll be honest, I was a little bit multitasking. I was typing, I was talking to people in the chat. I had friends that were talking to me, so I couldn't really focus as much as I feel like you might have in taking screenshots.
Maybe.
But really it was just the depth. It was the the fact that I was like, wow, there are a lot of abilities, and not only that, the significance of each point or pip, like they were calling it, isn't small. It was something that you could sit there for, I'm not going to just make up a time, but you could sit there for a while and really dive into what, not only one shaman could do, but what two could do, and how they could synergize, having completely different pips marked and different abilities that were upgraded. It was refreshing to see that there was a lot of depth in this class.
Did you get the feeling that this is something that I've constantly got the feeling of, but maybe I felt it a little bit more tonight? Every decision is not made heavy-handedly. Every decision for everything in this freaking game is made for a specific point and how it intertwines into something. Whether it's lore, whether it's why the flowers on the ground are the way they are, whether it's what class you're playing, whether it's, how you spend your mastery. Man, like every detail about why you would take a mastery point was important. And you kind of were just saying that, like, if that's the case, it's not going to be easy to just, here's how I'm going to do my mastery, because there's different ways to play. How do you want to be a shaman, right?
Without a doubt. And knowing, I do want to be a healer. I'm interested. If I had to choose like what I would play, it would be a druid. Okay. And seeing what they're doing with the shaman and seeing, actually, I'm not gonna lie, I know on your show a lot of times you got these people who will be like, I want to play this, but I saw this and now I want to do this.
Yeah.
All of WoW, I played a shaman. Okay. Literally all of WoW, I played a shaman. His name was Burst Shock. I played all through Burning Crusade.
Nice.
And Wrath and Cataclysm. And seeing their ability to, I forgot the name of the ability where they could shift their health to mana.
Yeah, that is the Chrono Burn.
Yeah. I was like, oh my God, damn it.
Well, imagine this combo, right? You have the Enchanter Clarity. I keep calling it Clarity. I know it's something, but you have Clarity, right? Yeah. So that's going to give you mana. And then you have your Spirit Pet out, which we haven't even got to yet. And that's going to give you your out of combat regen for health and HP. And then you're going to be able to Chrono Burst. This class is going to get tons of haste, right? To cast through vision, right? You're going to have your vision. So you're going to be casting and you're going to get faster and get faster and get faster. And there's all this worry of, well, if I'm faster, and I think anyone who's played any MMORPG knows that haste is great, but when you have too much, you burn your mana really quick, right?
Exactly.
So this class is going to maybe burn their mana quick, but it's okay because under the right circumstances, you're going to be able to get your mana back probably quicker than any class of the game. And that's really cool because, again, synergy, that works really well.
Exactly. I did find that, early on they were kind of doing the first pip or the first couple abilities. Mm-hmm. And I was kind of, I like to see everything is relative. So I was like, okay, he's healing for 219 or whatever it was. And then it went up to 290 something. But, how much health does a person have? And I was like, that's a lot. That's a lot of healing. Like, that's a pretty powerful heal still. The dots were ticking really quickly. I don't know if you saw that. It seemed like, usually a dot or a hot, is more like every 3 seconds, but those were like every second. Boom, boom, boom.
Probably affected by the haste, right? So
yeah. Well, I didn't even think of that. Maybe it is, but I was really interested in the fact that if that's how fast the healer can heal their own health up, something like taking your health away to get mana is really nothing. It's just a matter of time. It's just a matter of how fast you can do it.
Yeah.
So I found that this was a really interesting stream, diving into all these different abilities, diving into what they can change to. And not only that, I had asked a question. I don't know if it was my question that they answered at the end, but they said that, multiple shamans' abilities will stack. So there is a reason to have, 2 shamans in a party, other than just, we're doing 2 different things. They can do the same thing and you would still get a benefit from that.
Yeah. And that's interesting too, because if you think about it, they said the key word was viable. And they're staying away from like, do you want to? Do you have to? Can you? Everything will be viable. And that decision, if it arcs through all the classes and arcs through the gameplay, is that whatever you have, if your group can come together and synergize, keyword of the night, it'll work. And I think that's really important.
Yeah, it's going to be so great, man. I'm really excited because, we've played all these MMOs. I'm excited to see, like joining a group that has like 3 tanks and like 1 DPS and 2 healers, or in a CC class or something like that, a support class. I love doing that even in WoW. I used to join parties where there's like 4 warlocks, a healer, and a tank. I was like, oh, let's see what we can do. That's strange. Let's all pull out our Voidwalker and pull as fast as we can. I think that's what makes MMOs so great, is not just the archetype, not just I have a tank, healer, DPS, support, but it's the fact that you can break that, and it's still
funny
viable.
because that 6th role in a group is, for people who've been playing 5-man group games, that 6th role, you can have your base 5-man, and now you have this option to change everything. And I really think that's going to be where it's at.
It's going to be so good.
Where would you start? You get to start the U meter. So where would you start it? How high up?
I'm going to be honest. I will match you.
Okay.
Like, I'm not going to say that, it was something that I was so unexpected that it was crazy. It wasn't like they dropped some dates or anything like that. But I was expecting like a half-hour stream of like, oh, look how we put these points in, and we'll show you a few more spells. And I think we got a real dive and some people in the chat were going, this is real scripted. And yeah, maybe the format was scripted, but they seemed like they were having fun just messing around with the abilities and kind of chatting about it.
I will tell you guys this. Again, I don't want to speak for him, but the little bit I know about Joppa, he may have talking points. Joppa's not scripted. He's not a scripted guy. He just wants to, you can see it. He wants to dig in. He wants to talk about these details, and he kind of, has to watch his steps sometimes. And that's where you may think he's scripted, but it's him just kind of not wanting to unveil too much. So, well,
there's nothing wrong with pausing. He's definitely a pauser. He's not a person who says a lot. He'll just pause and think.
Yep. Well, Idiotech, thank you so much for jumping in and being our first guest tonight. I'm going to jump to some other guests, but awesome. Thank you for saying the meter. Happy to hear you're excited. We'll see if the next stream makes you want to play that class. Is that fair?
Of course. Yeah, definitely fair, man. Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure to be here, and I'm glad I could make it.
Awesome, man. Thank you. All right, so we're going to continue doing this, but I want to talk about one more thing before we do, in case any of you are excited about it, the Shaman Pet. So we've had a little discussion in there, and I talked about having your pet out, what it means. So the Shaman Pet's been an interesting topic of discussion since the classes were revealed a long time ago. And the pet got a little bit more clarity today. We haven't seen the pet. I know a lot of people want to see it. We haven't done that yet, but let's go through a couple key details about the pet and what I think are important. So the shaman's going to start with a bear or wolf. Important. That was kind of said. In the first 10 levels, it doesn't do anything. It's sort of like a vanity pet. It hangs out with you. It's adding class lore. It's adding flavor, texture to your class, and why this is important, right? And then at level 10, through a quest line, which is kind of cool, specific to a shaman, obviously, you're going to be able to get your spirit companion to take an adult form. And then at that point, you're going to have it be able to interact with the environment, right? So if you wanted to be able to go into combat or standard function as like a utility, you can. And the way that that's going to work is between what you want your pet to be. Do you want to pull it into the physical realm, or do you want to keep it in the spiritual realm? And that's going to do two things. If you bring it into the physical realm, it's going to actually be some damage for you, right? So you're going to have a little damage. Summoners, necros, don't worry. It's not going to be anywhere near what your pet can do, but you'll have some basic attack functionalities directing the pet. Just saying, like, go here, attack that, do this. But then if you have it in your spirit form, there's going to be, and also in the physical form there, by the way, that's how you'll be able to perform your resurrection, by sacrificing it. So interesting there. That's a really important planning situation for a shaman. But then from there, you're actually going to be able to put it into a spirit form. Now, the spirit form is going to give you your HP and your mana regen. The one that was kind of a standard passive before, they pulled that back a little bit and added a little more substance to that ability. So now if you want your HP and mana regen to continue in combat, you have to have your pet out in spirit form. So it's kind of like if you're going to be a debuffer, if you're going to be focused on throwing your dots on and crippling enemies, as they put it, you're probably going to have your pet out in a damage roll, just to kind of add to it, because that's kind of your thing. But as maybe a healer, someone who's going to really be important with their mana, how they're spending it, specifically a main healer, you'll probably keep your pet a little bit more in the spirit form. But the tricky part is really going to be navigating how you're going to use that resurrection to jump into that spirit walker form, so to speak. So interesting how the pet's going to play into that. I think that gives the pet a little bit more important than what it sort of sounded like when we first heard about it, which at that point was, it's just going to be there. You're not going to be able to control it much. I think that's mostly where people's head was with that. So I don't know. Okay, so let's go ahead and jump in. Drac, you are up next. And after Drac, we will jump into Vandrad. So Drac, you're up next. I'm pulling you in now. What's going on, Drac? How are you?
Doing fantastic.
How's the quarantine life? How I know you got your kids at home there. Are you guys having fun, spending some quality time, or are you looking to jump out a window?
My wife basically has everybody on complete military lockdown, 30-minute intervals until the next thing.
I love it. Yeah, but it's like going on a trip to Disney and you're like, this is going to be fun. And then it's just a schedule.
That's pretty much it.
So what'd you think of the stream? Let's start just basic. I mean, what'd you think of the stream? And then let's go ahead and tell me a little bit about what you think of Shaman in general beforehand and now.
Well, I don't have any plans to play a shaman. If I did a healer, it would definitely be a cleric. So that part of it wasn't really that exciting to me. I like the class reveal. I thought they did a great job with it. But the shaman stuff is fun to look at, but not something that personally interests me.
You'll be okay having one in your group, but you don't want to be it.
Correct. Yes.
So you brought up something interesting. I'm sorry, I didn't want to cut you off, but you brought up something interesting. You said, the way they revealed it. So if you were going to play a cleric and they kind of went through it that way, you'd be pretty excited about it.
Oh, for sure. No, I thought it was pretty in depth. They showed all the upgrades and stuff, kind of gave you a little hint about like, you could be the healer shaman or you could be the DPS shaman. It was kind of fun.
Awesome. So what else about the stream really stood out to you?
So 2 things that I thought were awesome. One, they dropped the progeny bomb. I thought it was kind of dead. I didn't even know that they were going to continue to do it, but it is by far one of my favorite features that they had before, and I'm so glad that it's still alive.
That's not going anywhere. There's a lot of people that said, this is going to be a really hard thing to do. You have to do it right. There's just been a lot of discussion around this system, and I think there's a lot of fear on how it'll work and how it'll make people stronger and the sacrifice it's going to take. But I agree with you. It's highlighted on my notes in big yellow highlighter. But here's the important part, what they talked about. We didn't talk about the secondary side of the mastery system. You can master your spells. You can master your character. That's a big choice.
Yeah, I mean, it was cool, and like it kind of seemed like maybe like you could get extra mastery points through the progeny system. I just like the idea. I mean, I know some people really don't like it, but I like the idea of like, okay, I got to play through a couple of 2 or 3 times before I have my final character. I just think it adds longevity to the game.
Yeah, it is an interesting concept. Some people ask, what is progeny? Progeny is the way, and we don't know how it's going to work, so we're talking in theory here. But it is a way of playing a character to max level and going on your experiences, and then somehow, some way, sacrificing the character to a kid or a child that's born with extra power, starting over maybe at level 1, who knows where. So again, very theoretical. We haven't gotten a lot of details, but somehow taking a character that's been leveled, experienced, gone through the ringer, and starting over a new character that comes innate with more ability. And if you now level that character up, you may be stronger than you were in the past. It's an interesting concept. And again, we don't know if it means you have to retire your character. It doesn't, if you can't get mastery anymore. I mean, there could be 100 different ways that they could do it, or you could literally have to sacrifice your entire character. We don't know that, but it is an interesting concept. And for those that really want to be the best of one class they can be, it's an interesting thing. It'll really push you. You could really set yourself apart and be, that character in the world. So.
No, I think it's being great. I'm really looking forward to that system. The other thing that they dropped was at the end, the name reservation. I mean, normally name reservations aren't like till really close to like when they're going to drop the game, but we're still in pre-alpha. I thought that was really, cool, but different.
Yeah, it was I didn't get this down completely, so fix me, guys. I think it's an NPC naming and a quest or something like that. I think it's the real high tier of pledge that is going to be a character in the game and possibly quest design. I think those are the two. I didn't get to write it down. So it's one of the VIP tiers is what they were talking about.
Oh, I misunderstood it then. I thought he was talking about name reservation for your character.
No, not yet. Not yet. Oh, soon. Hopefully soon. So yeah, that would be more for the NPC thing. It's a really high level tier investment. So.
Okay. I was because I was like, wow, that's really early for name reservations.
All these thoughts start to go through your head. Well, if I'm reserving my name, what does that mean? What's next, right?
That was exactly where I was going. I was like, how close are they?
I would guess that it wasn't just you. Theric just said he misunderstood that as well. So I'm sure there were a lot of people that are like, wait, I can reserve my name? What's that mean? So it's going to be pretty interesting. Omega Contagion asks, do you think Professor Wigglebottoms is lore breaking? Depends on what that booty looks like. So Drac, what are your total thoughts on the stream from where you expected it to be and how it delivered for you?
Well, I had no expectations, but I thought it was pretty good. I'd probably leave it right where it is.
Okay, that's easy on me. Is there anything else you wanted to add or anything else before we move forward?
No, the two big things for me were the name thing, which wasn't quite as cool as I thought it was, and then the progeny, of course, which was super cool.
Awesome. Well, Drac, thank you so much. And as I've always said, Drac, feel free to put a link in the chat there to your profile site. Drac makes profiles for the community. He's building a really cool site around all these different community style learnings about us as players and the characters we want to make and things we like. It's a really cool concept, and I know he's constantly looking for more people to make them for. So, Drac, you have 100% right. At any time, you can put that link in the chat. We'll never block it. Throw it in there, and be glad to get people jumping on there, man. Okay, and thank you for everything you do for the community.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
Take it easy. All right, we're going to be jumping with Vandrad next. So, Vandrad, if you are ready, I'm pulling you in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. What's up, Vandrad? How are you?
I am fine, sir. How are you?
Good, man. I feel like it's been a long time since I talked to you in voice.
It's been a couple weeks.
Yeah, I just miss you sometimes.
Sorry. I had to play some old EverQuest.
All right, you're forgiven. So what's going on, man?
Thank
What'd you think?
Yeah, okay, so as a person who has been playing a shaman in pretty much every single game that has one,
Good. Yeah.
this class is very near and dear to my heart. And I'm glad to see that it's being fleshed out a whole lot more than what we've seen so far. I was really happy to see the return of, cannibalization in the form of, Chrono Burn. To me, that is just such an iconic shaman thing. And to see that, again, theory crafting and looking through, and thinking about it going, that could be some incredibly fast mana regen.
Yeah. I mean, when you combine it with everything else, right?
Right, with the Spirit Pet and the Enchanter and all this, it's like, wow.
A bard, maybe? A bard?
You could go from empty to full in seconds.
Yeah.
And my assumption is that spell will be replaced over time so that, the amount of hit points and mana that you get back is going to scale as you level up. Yep. So even at level 50, going from 0 to full could be fairly quickly. Yeah,
it might be a big hit on your health, but if you're a smart player, you know when you can do that.
I expect, however, that the downside is going to be a shaman spells are going to have higher base mana costs than similar spells from other classes.
That's a good point.
Because otherwise it would be far too overpowered to have that amount, ability to control your mana regen without some downside. And to me, it's going to be increased mana cost.
Well, I think having to special, so, and let's not read into this too much, but it felt like they were really like, if you're going to be a single target healer, you can do it with the base spells, but you're probably going to want to go into mastery on this ability.
Yeah.
So they're going to probably have to, yeah. So they're going to have to be a class that specializes in filling, and I'm just theory crafting here, guys, please don't read into this, but a cleric we can assume is going to just be able to do that pretty easily. But maybe a cleric now would have to specialize to do more group stuff. Whereas the shaman's going to be preset to be able to roll those hot. So I keep it rolling, hit everybody up, and now you can specialize to get more out of the singles.
Well,
So,
and if we're talking about uses of mana, so the cleric is going to focus a lot on heals. It's just going to heal, 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 heal.
yep.
And the shaman, though, in order to accomplish the same goal, has to cast 3 other spells. It's
Mhm.
got to get the slow in. It has to get the the other debuffs that are in there. Then it has to keep the haste on all the groups, and then it has to cast the hot. So again, the mana usage of the shaman is going to be, there's going to be a lot of throughput. Mana going out, mana coming back. Mana going out, mana coming back.
So here's an interesting question I wish we could have asked. I don't know if anyone from VR is out there and you can answer. It'd be super cool. So they said that you could put like Banes on multiple, right? So if you have 2 shaman, they could put the same Bane on, right? Which is kind of cool.
Right.
Now I know that certain Banes interact with the way you heal. If a secondary shaman throws the Banes on, will you get the bonuses to your heals because the target has the Banes on them? So see, I'm curious, if you did run 2 shaman, could you hypothetically, as the healing shaman, not have to worry so much because that other one is putting the Banes or
I
on
would
for
think
you?
that is probably going to be the case, yes.
Again, that's what I'm thinking. I mean, I don't want to speak absolutes, guys, but that makes me think again of that secondary shaman and how useful they could be.
Right, exactly. And having the different Banes stacking, so if you've got 2 shaman and they both cast the same poison Bane, those are going to stack.
That's really cool.
I don't think that you're going to see slow stacking because that
No.
would be incredibly overpowered.
Can't.
I don't think you're going to see like armor class debuffs and other stuff like that stack, but I think dots will definitely stack.
Yeah, and I keep using the wrong words, but Fragile said it. So it's boons for the positives, it's Banes for the negatives.
Yeah, Banes.
So,
Yeah.
Yeah, it's an interesting concept. I mean, and then I keep saying this word, but it was the word of the night. The synergy is just like on this windswept ability. What were your thoughts on these states that you can put enemies in?
I got a little bit confused on it. It wasn't too clear because I was listening to what they were saying, then I was watching what he was doing, and I'm going, okay, so he's casting his fire Bane, and then he's casting Windswept, and then he's casting the Fire Bane again, and I'm going, that's 3 spells that you've got to cast. That's 3 amounts of mana that you're having to expend. What's the benefit that you're getting out of it? Is it worth that amount of mana being spent?
And also so that fire one, for example, if you have a wizard with you, that wizard's like, do it. Right,
exactly. And again, it's probably something that as a natural debuff, it is something you would be casting all the time anyway.
Yeah.
But again, I just don't see the whole casting 3 spells. I don't know yet if the benefit is going to be worth it.
Yeah, I think that, if your role is to be a healer, you're probably going to heal and you're going to throw the things on that help your healing most of the time. Now that's slow. Gotta have that slow.
Yeah, and this now feeds back into this whole mastery system of, okay, what's going to be the most, for at least in my opinion, the most useful path for upgrading? 1, slow. Get that one maxed out as quickly as you can. Because that's going to make your healing. That makes your healing automatically that much better.
And I think you got to go with Mantle, healing, right? Mantle was a big one.
Then you're going to go into your debuffs, and then you're going to finish off with your buffs.
So let me sidetrack you for a second. And I'm curious, chat. This is I really want to hear what you guys have to say in chat. So put your answers here. Is anybody now looking at a shaman? Because I've been saying this for a long time. There's a lot of people that say that 6th role is like the only class that you should have in that 6th role is an enchanter. That's been said a lot. I've disagreed with that. I mean, it'll be helpful. But what about now having a debuffing utility support shaman in that role instead? Is anybody in the chat or you yourself saying to yourself, man, I'd like to play a shaman and not worry about healing, but all the other stuff they can do? Because you could play the whole class that way.
Yeah. I'm not sure that the shaman is going to necessarily bring enough to the group that, let's say, a rogue or a high DPS class would not bring something better, because in the end, what you want to do is you want to get stuff dead as fast as possible. And I think the best way to do that is to have as much DPS as possible. And does the shaman fill that role? Are debuffs better in the long run than a DPS class?
Yeah. It's interesting. I'm curious to see, because there'll be people that make it work. They'll gear a
Sure, of
certain
course.
way. They'll have the friends that play certain classes. Maybe like, for example, as a rogue, when you have all that nature damage on that rogue's extra throughput is just crazy. Plus everyone else is benefiting. I just think it'd be kind of interesting. So I'm not sure how that'll play out, but
I still just think that looking at the synergies between the priest classes, if you're looking at two priests, you're better to have a cleric and a shaman and a druid rather than or a cleric and a druid rather than to have two of the same priest class.
yeah. Although if you have a shaman and their main role is healing, I don't think you need a cleric. Want me to be honest with you?
I'm hoping not, because
Well, I'm not talking raid. Not talking raid.
My intent for group content is I want one priest and the rest of the people are there to to do whatever it is they need to do.
Yeah.
I don't want to have to bring along a second priest. That's just because I'm still thinking that the cleric will be able to handle it by themselves, and if they can, the other two also need to be able to do that.
Yep. So what else? I mean, what'd you think of the mastery system as a whole and kind of getting a deeper dig? Do you feel like you have a better understanding? Was there a lot more brought out for you there?
I find it interesting though that so far, looking at the few examples that they had, the second one was the best choice. It's the one you want to get to because it turned the single target to a group. You know, so it's like group stuff is typically always better, at least for mana efficiency. Casting stuff on a group is so much better. I'm disappointed that they.
Well, you had on the Mantle of the Deep, for example, you did have the 50% chance to proc a free cast.
You know what? I don't like percentages.
Everything in the game is. Did you see this?
I know,
Let me show this.
Still, but again, you say 50%, you can go. You could have 100 chances in a row and not get a single proc. Again, that's the problem with probabilities. You can have a whole string of nothing happening. But again, 50% is better than nothing.
Yeah.
It just remains to be seen how it plays out.
I threw the numbers up on the screen for you.
Yeah, God, look at all those abilities.
Give me your numbers.
Moly. That's amazing. That's incredible. I love that.
So
it does scream a bit of a feature creep and ability bloat, but remains to be seen.
We'll see. I'm excited.
The last thing is, the pet, that shaman pet.
Yeah.
So the spirit, increases mana, the physical form, DPS. But the key is that physical form, you have to have the physical form if you want to do that,
res.
The Age Walker's gift, the res.
There were a lot of people complaining about the fact that you had to die to use it. So this is a nice way.
This is better.
It's
definitely much better.
You can use it strategically without dying.
Right. Now the question is this. So you start off with your pet in spirit mode. What does it take to change from spirit mode to physical
And is
form?
there a cooldown, right? Like, so can you do it quickly?
Is there a cooldown?
Yeah.
Because if I can just dispel it and quickly summon it again, like if I see the group dying or going to die, okay, pet goes away, pull out the physical pet, and continue on my way.
I imagine the pet's always out, right? So like the bear's there, and you have some sort of button you press in cast or has a cooldown that changes it, is my guess.
Yeah, again, I wonder how long that's going to take. I would assume that it's going to have a very long, like a cast timer, so to change form is not something you can do necessarily on the fly, because otherwise that would be so incredibly overpowered. You would have the benefits of both.
Awesome.
Or maybe you can't
you're a
change the
shaman
form while
fan.
you're in combat.
Yep, you're a shaman fan, so this did it for you. It feels good.
Yeah.
It feels good.
It felt really good. I'm actually though disappointed that we haven't seen other classes.
Okay.
We've seen a lot of the warrior and a lot of the cleric and a lot of the shaman. Come on, guys, we've got 9 other classes that need to be showing us. Yeah, rogue. Yeah, I'd love to see what the rogue does. The ranger, you name it, I'd love to see it. I hope that the pace increases so that we can see these coming out, every couple, not every couple of weeks, because then we're looking at 2 years.
Don't blow your load on it though. Spread them out enough. You got to spread them out. These are big. So
yeah, these are big. I liked it. I was impressed. You can leave the bar where it is.
Oh, cool. So everyone's kind of agreeing tonight. Everyone's in good spirits.
Yeah.
Awesome, man. Good talking with you, man. I missed you. Thanks for stopping into the show tonight.
Anytime I can, I'll be here.
Take it easy, dude.
Bye.
All right, we are going to jump into Hoye next. And then from Hoye, we're going to go to Velkis and then Coco Mojo. Coco Mojo, I haven't seen you in a while. I love that name. So we're going to bring in Hoye now. Hoye, what is up?
Hey, bud.
How are you?
Doing well. Busy.
I know you're a warrior. You're sitting here like this, and this person just needs to heal me. But what'd you think?
Much. Yeah, pretty much. I don't play any healers. I never have. Just not my thing. And generally, Shaman would probably be the last one I would ever be interested in. But if I were to play a healer, it would probably be the Shaman.
Okay. What is it about the Shaman, and specifically anything you learned tonight that kind of solidified that for you?
They seem like they have a lot of depth. Probably the reason I would play them is because I believe their skill ceiling is going to be really high compared to the other.
Yeah, that's true. Especially with what people were saying earlier, right? Like you have these different spells you sort of have to manage. You got to look at your group, and then there's these things that are going to benefit you to healing your group while you're also trying to keep these things up, especially if you're the main healer, is definitely going to have a higher skill. You'll see a big difference between a shaman who just kind of basic heals and then the shaman who's like firing it up.
Yeah, I think there's going to be, I think when we get, the game going and stuff, there's going to be a conversation of, well, we probably need another healer, secondary healer. It'll make it, this zone go easier or whatever. And be like, oh, no, we got so-and-so. He's a badass.
He can make up for it.
Heal the shop.
Nice. So we also got into the mastery system quite a bit, and this would affect you and anybody who plays, regardless if you play a shaman or not. What did you think about some of the key details in the mastery system? The decision not only to see how it works, and the abilities we've seen a little bit before, but now they're talking a lot about how you gain it. This constant bar that gives you, maybe even after you're done leveling, more leveling to do, which is my favorite thing on the planet. I have always said you should never stop growing, and that is, in my opinion, a big way to keep that going. But also they hinted, we didn't get to see much of it or hear almost anything about it, but that you can put it into your character or your abilities.
Yeah, I mean, right now, you really got to see how it's going to play out, how it's going to work, I think. I'm really liking the mastery system and the little pips, as Joppa calls them, that you can upgrade. I think the graduation of how much they cost is a really good idea. So I like the fact that if you really want something early, you can get it early, but you're going to sacrifice a lot of other things like beginner spells and stuff like that. So I do really like that you have the option to do that. I also really like the fact that you're not just limited. Like in WoW, you had a skill tree. So you were stuck in that skill tree and you could kind of bleed over into another one.
Mm.
But I like that with the mastery, you can at least eventually get everything. I do like that. I hate being locked behind it. Even if you told me it's going to take you 2 years to get max everything out, I at least can at some point do that.
And that type of dedication and sticking with a character goes back to the EQ days, right? So the EQ days, if you saw a max level character, I've said this a few times, it was much different than most MMOs you play. If you walked up to a max level character in some of the best gear and you had a question about EverQuest, they could answer it. It was kind of crazy. Yeah. You don't see that in any other MMORPG because the leveling isn't really a challenge. People don't stick with main characters as much as they did in EverQuest. And on top of that, you didn't have to really go through the trials and tribulations, for example, to get to that level. Maybe we see that again with Pantheon, and I'd love it. I would love it to see a high level in it, and you're like, wow, this guy has almost all his mastery points. He's one of the best rogues. You ask him a question, he's like, yeah, this is what you have to do. I think that also builds into community, and that person becomes like a figure on the server, so to speak.
Yeah, exactly. I hope that they don't do it too much to where you can at least, have at least one other alt that's, pretty good as well. I like to run 2 alts. I'm not one of those ones that have, 6, 7, 8, one of every class, but I'd at least like it to be possible to roll 2 alts and not be too far behind the curve of somebody that only has one class,
I've always been someone who really jumps classes to need. I'm really challenging myself to stay rogue. Like everything I can do to just play rogue and be really good at it. And we'll see. We'll see. There's things that excite me about the classes. I love classes. I love theory crafting. I love learning about builds and loadouts. And it's what I love. But I'm hoping to stay rogue. I'm hoping. We'll see.
Yeah, I understand that.
So, yeah, look at this. He goes, urges to change Clash everywhere. I mean, when I started this whole ordeal, I was going to be a bard no matter what. It's in one of the videos. No matter what, I'm playing a bard. I don't care if they suck, I'm a bard. And then I played Vanguard, and it's like, oh, I kind of want to be a warrior again because I've always tanked. I'm like you. 90% of the time, I'm like you, where it's tank, lead the group in. You know, that's been my role for a long time. I just know that in being a content creator, the community stuff, everything else I do, I'm not going to have time to be like a dedicated tank and have to be like super relied upon.
That's what I'm worried about.
Yeah. So that's where I'm like, okay, well, I'll be a rogue and then I can sneak around and see the world. So, but getting sidetracked. Did you like the way they presented the class? Like if they do this for more classes, is that going to be interesting to you? What did you think of their presentation of just the class in general?
Yeah, I thought it was really good. I mean, I really don't care much for a shaman or a healer. I really don't. So it's hard for me to get really excited and into it. But the information was just crazy. I mean, you could tell just within the first 5 minutes of how fast Joppa was talking. He's like, look, we had information just dump. So let's get through it, you know?
And I don't think they got through it all. I don't, because I think they had to stop.
Yeah. I do appreciate that they didn't reveal every, thing out there. Like I think the proc they didn't reveal. They've left some to surprise, but I mean, you got a really good feel of exactly what this class is, what you can expect pretty much and stuff like that. So I think they did a really good job. I'm pretty impressed. I think this is the most in-depth, thorough class walkthrough that they've done out of any of them.
Yeah, it's interesting. And I honestly think that you said it right. And I've said this a bunch of times. They can't show us everything, guys. You don't want that. You could sit here right now and say you want to see it. You do not want that. You want to discover. It is the key to playing an MMORPG. You need discovery, zones, your skills, everything. You need it. It is why you really play. Find a great group of people to play with. Discover the game. You can't see everything. I know we want more. I want more. Guys, if you think I'm sitting here saying, no, everyone be patient, I am, but my desire to see it is the same as you guys. But we don't want that. So it's difficult. Where would you put the meter? Do you agree with where everyone's been so far? Would you say move it up, move it down, especially as someone who's really not into Shaman?
I'd say max it out.
Okay.
I think people are leaving the maxed out for when they release alpha or something. But I mean, realistically, for what we should expect every week, I think they hit it perfectly for what we should expect.
I'm going to move it up just a little bit since we've had a lot of people stay. So I'll put it somewhere kind of like in the middle of doing that. So
yeah.
Awesome. Oh yeah. It was awesome talking to you, man.
Likewise.
Stinks that we don't have football season, so I could talk trash on Aaron Rodgers to you, but what are we going to do?
Well, I don't know what he's going to do this year anyway. So.
Well, yeah, thanks, buddy. I really appreciate you stopping by and always welcome. You know that.
Likewise. Take care. Thanks.
Take care. Looks like we lost Velks, who was there, so we are going to jump to Coco Mojo, who I haven't got to talk to in a while. Then we'll go to Wargoat, and at the moment, we're going to finish up with Sacred. So let's go to Coco Mojo. I'm pulling you in. What is up, Coco?
Hey, what's up, buddy?
It's been a while. It's been a while since I saw that name. Your name will always, I just love it. I think of Powerpuff Girls with Mojo Jojo, and then I think of the song Kokomo. So
I got it from the song Kokomo.
Okay. Well, at least I got half of that right.
I work out of town a lot, so I usually always miss these.
Well, I guess if anything, I'm happy you're here, and that's at least one thing I'm happy for about the virus. So sorry you had to be here, but hopefully it was fun.
Yeah, had a great time. I enjoyed watching the live stream. I thought it was really good.
What was your biggest takeaways from it?
Oh, I love the mastery system, and the biggest takeaway from it is I started thinking about how much of a super powerful twink you could make, particularly with the progeny system. Now you got this mastery system where you can buy the stuff, which is going to create a huge economy that way. And then on top of that, they said that you're going to be able to take max level items and give them to your alts, and they're just going to downscale them. So you're going to have like really powerful low level things. And I love doing that.
That's a great bring up. We haven't even brought up the fact that one of the ways that you're going to be able to possibly get your mastery is by buying them. And that is an awesome economy piece that you just brought up. Like I said, we didn't even talk about it. I have it in my notes, but kind of skipped over it. Interested to see what everyone else thinks about that too, because that's where a lot of my money might go. Either that or items, right? So
Yeah.
they tied it into crafting too. I think there's a certain crafter who's going to be able to put your items together, right? So
Yeah. I do think they mentioned something like that. But that was my biggest takeaway. I just came in to kind of hang out.
awesome.
I really didn't pay much attention to it. I just kind of listened to the video. The biggest thing I want to play a Dire Lord, so I think that the watching the Shaman thing, I think they're going to be a really good healer for the Dire Lord.
Yep. Yeah, I've actually said that as well. I think that the Dire Lord is really going to be a great shaman synergy. Another time we'll use that word tonight. We'll see how many times we get through. We should have a counter up. So what would you do with that bar then? If you've watched the stream, everyone's pretty positive about it. Are you with everybody else, or do you think it was? Yeah.
I'm pretty positive about it. They didn't spoil much, and at the same time, they gave us a lot of info about how mechanics are going to work and stuff like that. And then they sat there and showed us some new stuff that they added into the game that don't exactly have you. And after that, that one just got canceled the other day out of nowhere. I feel very confident about the way Pantheon's going so far.
Yeah, and you know what? That's something we're actually going to talk about. You kind of give me an option here. For those of you that don't know, we are going to be having a podcast-style show come out on Sundays. It's going to be Theric, myself, and Omega Contagion. It's going to be a shorter show, 20 to 30 minutes, we're hoping. Podcast style, it'll be on YouTube with download links to just download it so you can listen to it on the go. But we're actually going to talk about news in Pantheon for the week, content creator news. We're going to talk about the community news, looking into the social media platforms like the forums, Twitter, all the different things, and kind of highlight some of the best comments and what people are talking about and some of the hot topics. But then we're also going to have a section just talking about news in MMORPGs. And I'm sure we're going to talk about that this weekend because there's a lot of people that are trying to compare the two games. And guys, there's nothing to compare. Just because something's in the same genre and it's indie developed does not mean it's comparable. So
I didn't mean to compare.
Oh, no, not
same
you.
Genre
Not you.
and same genre and both crowdfunding. But I guess it's the same with Ashes and then turning it into a battle royale.
Yeah, right. So, but awesome, man. I really appreciate it. So you just want to leave the meter where it's at?
Yeah.
Well, thank you for joining us. Sorry conditions are what they are, but really happy to have you here tonight, man. Thanks for being a part.
Yep. Thanks, man. Thanks for letting me be a part.
Take it easy. All right, we got Wargoat, and then we're going to jump to Sacred to wrap up the show tonight. So, Wargoat, I'm bringing you in now. What's up, Goat?
Hey, how you doing, folks? How you doing, Linus?
Doing good, man. So, what'd you think tonight?
I love it. I think it's a good idea. It's gonna really push that skill cap up for these for caster types, especially for healing.
Yeah.
I do like the dual use of a spell, of the spells they have. It will help with the spell clutter and ability bloat. I do have one thing with the res, with the Shaman res. I would make that a mandatory hard cast, regardless whether in combat or out, just to balance that thing of, okay, you can switch pets, which I greatly enjoyed too. I like the pet idea, which was good, but mandatory make the res a hard cast, regardless of the situation. It would challenge them to balance out that. Okay, I gotta do this, I gotta do that. I have to wait till res him. And there's a lull in the fight. Okay, now there's a lull. Boom, start hard casting.
I think it is going to be a hard cast because the pet sacrifice, which puts you into the spirit form, into that form you have to be in.
Yeah.
Before you had to die to get into that form, but you still had to cast the spell. So I think you're going to be okay. I think you're going to have to sacrifice the pet, and then you're going to have to then cast the spell in that form. Is my guess.
Which all the more better.
Yeah.
And I saw the masteries. I'm liking it, and also with the synergy, you might as well add mage to that too when it comes to the whole shaman. What's that other the other
Windswept.
classes? No, not Winslip. The other class that the other what was Face was talking about before that would synergize with the shaman. Yeah, that would those three would work perfectly together. I could see a lot of DPS potential going out. Yeah, from Dire Lord. Yeah, I could see a lot of DPS potential coming from both magic and physical side with those two coupling up with the shaman. Holy cow, the numbers would be a lot higher than a lot of people would expect.
Yeah, the class definitely feels it feels like an homage to the shaman we know and love, but there's a level of depth that maybe it wasn't quite as depth in other ways, but and maybe more customization to not play it one way. I think they've done a really good job of balancing getting people that love shaman a great shaman and giving them more and more decisions and more role capabilities. Again, I've been since day one, I've been saying that an enchanter is going to be just as good of a healer as a support. We'll see. I could be very wrong, but I feel really strong about their skill set and what they're going to be able to do to cripple. And that was the word Joppa used, cripple. They're going to be able to cripple enemies. And that's exciting.
I could see shaman crippling. I would say yes. I've seen that done in WoW, where I've seen shamans who tank, shamans who heal, and shamans that can literally cripple people in PvE and PvP content, and it's sometimes disturbing.
Well, Wargoat, what do you think? You want to move that meter up? You want to move that meter down, or do you want to keep it where it's at?
I would raise it up just a little bit because of the utility, the dual use of the spells, and the mastery required to get this class to where high play could be involved. It's going to take a lot of time and learning to get the shaman to a high level of play, and I'm looking forward to see people who can do that.
That's awesome. I agree. I love a class that can be defined by the player's skill. And this feels like one for sure. So
yes, definitely. I am also hoping that they can do that with Monk too, because I'm just loving it.
Yeah, and Coach T said slow doesn't affect caster damage. It does not. I think the enchanter has something called Curse of Tongues that causes, and I could be wrong, I might be making up that spell name, but I think it's called Curse of Tongues that makes casters have a longer cast time. So that would be sort of like the slow for the casters, in a sense. I think will be handled by the enchanters. So Wargoat, thank you, buddy. Appreciate you coming on.
Oh, no problem, man. You take care, Minus, and take care, everyone else.
Awesome, man. See you next time.
You too.
All right, guys. So we're going to be bringing in Sacred to wrap up the show tonight. So fire away your questions for this guy. This guy loves Shaman, so this can be fun. He asked specifically to be last. I'm excited to have this conversation with him. So let's get going here. Somebody's bringing up transmog right before Sacred comes in. Muscle says, Sacred, tell Minus to learn to transmog. Bro, Sacred, back me up here. If anyone has to learn to transmog, it ain't this guy.
No, you are good at putting on pretty dresses and all kinds of different things.
You see this hat matches his shirt, right? And I have like 17 Hurley shirts and hats. So yeah, man, come on. I transmog just to be on this show.
You are fitting in. By the way, am I good on the mic? I talked to the guys a minute ago. I set up a new mic today, and I don't know how it sounds. So
yeah, I think you're coming through good. Is everybody hearing Sacred pretty well? Guys, give me a holler. I think he is. I think you're sounding pretty solid.
All right, yeah. If you need to turn me up, just turn me down.
I got you.
So, I will say, man, yeah, I was very excited about this in particular. Seeing the stats and everything come through, I'm really happy to hear and see so many people so excited about that, because that's such a huge factor under the covers that in most cases, for a lot of people wouldn't really make a lot of difference in a game. Unless you're like a hardcore MMO player like us, where really that's the bread and butter. Most people, they look at an MMO and the first thing they see is visuals, and that's all they care about. They never really go into what's the undercovers, like what's really happening, like beyond what's visually there. So love that they brought that forth and showed that, because that's huge. And I'm hoping that people go through and dissect that and dig through it, like I know they will, because a lot of fun stuff there. I mean, just looking at it on the screen there's a lot of stuff.
I love it so much.
A lot of stuff.
You know, I was smiling when that came up. You have to know that. It was.
Oh, I know.
And then they started scrolling it. I'm like, wait, slow down. I want to screen cap all this. Do it later.
Well, another thing too, I didn't hear it mentioned. Maybe I missed it, but so Jabba talked about the codex and how they were going to update that to visually on the right hand side,
Yeah.
show a lot more details of the abilities and things. And I think that's really unique. And people were asking about, will we be able to see, the pips or what the upgrades look like?
Mhm.
And again, that to me is so pivotal, because that's going to allow me as a player to start looking at where I want to take my class and what I want to do. And it gives me that kind of feeling of, I see where my next objective is, my next goal, and now I need to go get it. And
It's important
I love
too.
that feeling.
It's important because it was a great question somebody brought up, and I'm so happy they did. Can I see, in the streams, we see if you put a mastery point in, then you get to see what the second one is. Not a great system if that was kept that way. Just not. You're going to have to use a guide online. What that would do is it
Right.
would have taken you out of the game. You'd have to go look at the guide. What's 1, what's 2, what's 3. Put it in the game. Things that would pull you out, put it in the game. That's super important to me. So that was a really big. It's something where we could say, well, obviously, no doubt, like that has to happen. But there's game companies that miss things like that. And just hearing that and hearing the spell detail on the side. And when I think spell detail, I've been playing a game recently, Wolson. The spells there were tons of skills in that too, nothing like this. But when you would change something, the whole right side was this huge panel of this much fire damage, this much % fire to hit, this much affliction damage, this much this. And every time you added something to it, it would add to that list. So you had this giant list of like, this is what the spell says, this is the description, and then this is the under the hood numbers. And I think it's really important to have that, because the interesting thing you brought up is these are all under the hood, right? We're going to see them as we're leveling, your Fiend Death went up, your one-handed blow went up. You're going to see it. And there are people that can just play the game and it can just be there and they'll be fine. They'll be completely okay. And then there'll be people like me and you that really want to dig into it. And you're going to be able to have both those types of players.
Well, yeah. I mean, can you imagine sitting there and you're looking at all these stats and you're playing around with different gear and trying to figure out, okay, hold on. I just got this item. Let me see what this does, what this doesn't do. Wait, if I have this other piece of gear in my bat or my bank, I'm gonna go grab that and use that. Well, like, you start getting into a lot of variety. And I saw somebody, post in the chat a minute ago, well, is the mastery system, can you just max it out and everybody becomes the same? I mean, that's any
What
MMO.
happened?
Like, eventually you all become the same. It just,
I think
But
that
again-
what a lot of people don't realize when it comes to min-maxers in the game is, like, I would consider myself a min-maxer. We talk a big game, but we're not the majority. Not even close. Like, I think WoW's numbers are less than 5% of people do Mythic Raid content. It might even be lower than that, might be 2%. So yeah, okay, you're going to have people that do that, but they're going to be the 2%, the 5%. How many
Well, not
people
only
played
that-
EQ? How many people played EQ and never even hit max level?
well, right. And that's what I'm saying. Like, you talk about, oh, well, they can get to max. It's like, they can, but being able to and then doing are two different things. And so you start to look at, if they put enough time investment into it, if they really focus and really drive towards it, then perfect. And if they go out there and they get all the gear that they think they need for that min max set, then perfect. But I mean, you could be looking at, holy cow, like, what kind of time investment do you need on a single character to achieve that? And what happens, as the game continues to progress over the years? What happens when new things are implemented or added, or, you have different opportunities come up? And with I know people don't like it. I get it. It is what it is. But with the limited action set, you ultimately never really have one or two of the same class that are going to be identical in what they're bringing to the table for your group. So even if they are both completely maxed out and they have everything that they want in the world, they could still have different gear because they're utilizing their ability sets in different ways. And I mean, you don't need a bar to limit you on that, but it just kind of really emphasizes it. So I don't know. I just think there's a lot of neat things they teased and dropped here and hinted at that just, I'm really excited to see what people's theories and where this goes and what they're able to kind of help answer for us in the future as well.
One of the questions I had for them was, do you want people to run a bunch of alts or do you want people to have mains? And it was an interesting answer. They said was, well, we don't want to hurt either. But then when we think about what we're doing to make it difficult to level and the depth you can get in your character, you can't deny that that's the more you go in there, the more playing a main is going to be beneficial. And I've always wanted to be a one character person. I think I've told the story before. I had a friend who played a hunter in WoW his entire time playing and never had an ult ever for like BC to
Man needs an
WoD.
award.
Yeah, right. He played a hunter and that's it. And I always tried to get him to make an ult. Nope, playing hunter. Go get different pets. Just master his hunter, which is 2 buttons anyway. So I don't even understand. But I've always wanted to be that. Like I wanted to be someone that could tell you anything about a class. And this game is helping me. We'll see. I'm probably not going to be able to do it. I'm going to be honest with you guys, but it's helping me lean more and more towards that. Like I want to be an awesome rogue, and there's going to be rewards for continuing to build my character. And that's super exciting to me.
So 2 things I think I'm going to highlight because I heard them mentioned and they might be overlooked, but I think it was really neat for me to hear it and for it to be shown or talked about a little bit was you have, Joppa mentioned that as you're leveling, your level progression may slow, but this underlying mastery experience may be more consistent. And that means that as you get towards the higher levels, you may be kind of intermediately as you're trying to progress in your level, gaining more mastery points as well. And I saw somebody say, oh, that's free, or 50 free mastery points, for leveling. And I'm in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, well, leveling is not an easy task for one. So not really free.
It takes 14 to level one ability.
Right. Like to really max out one ability. And
that doesn't include the stuff that's just in your base character.
Right. Yeah, you start looking at this list here and you start, really identifying what's going on here or, even looking at all the other progression opportunities that you have within the game. I just, that's where I get really excited because I start seeing, again, that little steps towards progressing my character that I can start to achieve. And they can maybe be in smaller increments, along the way of achieving those overarching goals. So I think for me, when I'm looking at it and I'm bringing it all together and seeing the big picture come together, it's just really exciting. We talked about a game you were testing out the other day where the question that I kind of asked you was, is it fun? And sometimes you mentioned the carrot on the stick. I mean, I think there's a lot of carrots here and a lot of sticks. So for me, that's kind of what I get that feeling of when I see stuff like this. It's like, hey, that's my carrot. And, here's the carrot on a stick, and here I go. So I don't know. I was very excited to see this, but
I just feel like, we've, I don't want to let you get back to it in a second, but you brought up something that just made me think of this instantly. So we have not seen AA points really since EQ done in the right way. And we've talked a lot about talking to the EQ fans, and there's a huge majority of the current Pantheon crowd that just loves EQ, right? And they want nothing but another EQ. And I think I agree on a lot of aspects, but it has to evolve. It has to be a modernized version. And nobody's been able to do a couple things. We haven't seen strong Enchanter play since EQ1. You can say what you want about EQ2. I kind of discount that game. But EQ1 had this great Enchanter support play, and you really haven't seen it done well in any other game. They're taking it, they're bringing it back. You had AA points in this way to continuously grow yourself, and we haven't really seen it done well. And they're bringing it back in a modern way. I really think that they're hitting home runs with the theory behind specifically those 2 systems, bringing back support. And sorry, Hoye. I just didn't play it enough to really talk about it. That's mostly why I'm discounting it. But they're hitting a home run with these systems of constant growth. If you're in the world and you're killing stuff and you're experiencing, and your experience is growing from and I don't mean a bar, I mean your actual experience playing, your character should become more experienced. And if it's not level 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, it can be something deeper. And it's absolutely huge. Absolutely huge.
Yeah. Well, so I think I've said all I need to say. But yeah, like I said, I enjoyed this stream immensely. I think a lot of the things that were hinted at and shown and little details that were given will be reviewed. And, that's one thing you mentioned, Joppa doesn't script. I'm sure that he probably wrote down a few notes because he knows every word is transcribed onto a document and then broken down into its, Greek mythology meaning, where this, Latin translation comes from. And they're like, yeah, but if you translate it in the 3 ways anyway, but, it's funny where people take some of the conversation or comments that were made. And I'm excited to see where the theory crafting goes, where the conversations lead to, and excited to see what happens in 2 weeks.
Yeah. It should be really excited. Did you guys hear that? Spoiler? Is that a spoiler? Excited to see what happens in 2 weeks.
Yeah, there's a stream in 2 weeks. Duh.
Oh, okay. All right.
No. But no, I don't want to. Yeah, I mean, because of my history, I do want to
I know.
Put a little caveat out there that then that's no spoiler. There's no information here that I can give.
Yeah.
I'm the most least knowledgeable person in the planet, so
most least.
That.
Well, yeah, that's
most
in
least.
Everything, but we won't go into that. We don't have all night.
Yeah, let's keep it PG for a little bit, maybe.
Yeah. So, Sacred, can you do me a favor though? Because I know you don't want to do this. I'm going to make you.
Oh man,
can you tell people what you're up to now? Because I know you're streaming a lot. So, can you just tell people what you're playing?
I'm
just having fun.
I'm just having fun, man. I'm just being a community member, enjoying the community, enjoying the guild, hanging out with friends that I've made in the community for so many years, and I'm just really enjoying sitting back and again being a part of this tremendous community. I'm playing a few games, yeah, sure. I'm playing like some first-person shooters right now and stuff, but nothing crazy. Trying to save my MMO itch for this amazing game, and I've had the honor of stepping into the world, and I'm nothing else is going to compare to that right now. So getting into another MMO it feels like a letdown, unfortunately. But I'm like I said, I'm just again being here and being a part of this great community is just fun. It's exciting. Getting to hang out with you as much as I give you grief and stuff. I mean, we have a good time chatting, and I really appreciate what you do on the show. I appreciate the other shows. We have Nathan, VOT, Baz, and all the other guys out there, leading the charge. It's fun. It's just fun to be a part of this community. And that's crazy to think of that, because I've been here since, 2016, and I still am enjoying just being around the people in this community, which is really, really nice.
Guys, when Pantheon was made, one of the key phrases was community matters. If your only focus is when is this game coming out, you're missing a lot to be had right now. Hanging out with members, playing different games, being part of a community. Don't continuously look at the peak of the mountain. We're going to get to the peak. Enjoy the journey, guys. I've had more fun with the community here, within the Pantheon Plus community, within the Rainborn community, the Reddit community, on Twitter. I mean, guys, enjoy this ride. We're not going to get another one of these. We're really not. So enjoy the ride. We'll get to that peak of the mountain. Enjoy everything now, and no matter what that peak is, you're going to get something out of it. So I think that's really important. I don't want to be cheesy, but it's 100% true. 100% true, and I've said it before. So. But yeah, check out Sacred on Twitch, guys. He plays Call of Duty, so make fun of him. Anything else, Sacred?
Yeah, no, I still hate you, but there's that, and you can move the bar up to as much as you want to for me.
All right, so I'll move it up a little bit. Awesome. I did, guys, by the way, for future streams, when we get like a groundbreaking one, it can go above the bar now. That is always a complaint that it couldn't. I fixed it today, so we'll move it up. So, Sacred, thank you so much, man. I'm going to wrap it up here. Just a couple quick things for the community, and then we'll close this show up. Really appreciate it, man. Appreciate you chatting with the chat, being a part. And I'm going to say it on the air so you can go ahead and clip this. Being an awesome guild leader and having a community to be a part of and call a home has made this awesome. Taking a lot of stress off of me trying to find a home as a content creator, and the Rainborn community is awesome. So thank you for that. Thank you to everybody in the Rainborn community and every community that I'm a part of. Thank you guys for that. But great job with that, man. I appreciate it.
Thanks, man. Yeah, keep it up.
Yep, I'm going to drop you out. All right, guys. So that wraps it up. Awesome. Mastery, Shaman. What are we going to see next? Rogue, please, Rogue. Maybe we'll do a vote and I'll rig it so it's all Rogue. So like, look, everybody wants to see Rogue. But awesome stream. Really appreciate everybody who came on. Chat, you guys are lighting it up. You guys are absolutely incredible. We had a great crowd. We had over 50 people all night. We were up in the 60s. You guys are incredible. This show doesn't exist without you. I swear. If there's nobody here, there's no Pantheon plus you. It's Pantheon and only me. That sucks. Nobody wants to watch that show, especially Sacred. Again, guys, the big news came out. Pantheon plus Rewind. We're going to debut that this Sunday on YouTube. We will eventually have it downloadable on Spotify or iTunes or both. We're working out all the kinks and stuff. We're going to record our first episode Saturday and then have it out. Again, we're going to talk about VR news for the week, the community dig. We're going to talk about the content creators and what they're doing, and we're going to do some brief MMORPG news, just something you can take with you on the go. I hope you guys like it. Give us feedback on that. But this show will be up on demand on YouTube in 24 hours. So thank you to everybody who came out and made this show awesome. Like Shaman, probably won't play one. Cleric for me, but they're way better than Druids. Take it easy, guys.